Chapter 24. 3 weeks into the new school year and Abby still hasn't returned to school. Mum, Dad, Sophia and I are all out for a walk. It's a sunny afternoon, but there's a chill of autumn in the air. We're having fun, dashing about, bumping into each other as we try to catch the fallen leaves, when in the distance we see a familiar sight that brings us to a sudden halt. It's Pinky, Addy, their mum and Abe. Pinky is struggling to hold on to them all. "Pinky!" Sophia shouts at the top of her voice. Sophia and I run over. We're full of questions, but stand there dumbstruck. Eventually I ask where Abby is. On hearing Abby's name, Pinky's eyes noticeably fill with tears. She gulps hard and looks down. No one answers. Dad and Mum have caught up with us, and they greet Mrs. Canby and the children warmly, but Dad doesn't hesitate to politely ask about Abby, saying how concerned everyone has been about them all. Mrs. Canby mumbles something and Dad shrugs at us. Mum nudges him to not give up. "You must all come over to dinner on Saturday," Dad says to Mrs. Canby. "I'm curious to hear about your holiday." Mrs. Canby looks very uncomfortable. Her eyes are red and the dark circles under her eyes look worse than ever. But Mum too insists they come over, and with that we walk off in opposite directions. Saturday night arrives and the Canbys don't appear. We pester Dad and Mum to ring them to find out where they are. "It's a good excuse to have a feast," Sophia says, but Dad knows that my motives are different. It's a week before we see any of the Canbys again, and when we do, they just turn up at our flat completely unexpectedly. People often just pop in and expect Mum to cook dinner at the drop of a hat, but fortunately Dad and Mum don't seem to mind. Sophia jumps onto the kitchen worktop to look out to the window as soon as the doorbell rings. It's always been her lookout point, so she can warn Dad and Mum who's at the door. She hisses to me that she can see Pinky, her mum, her dad, and the snotty baby Abe, and the horrid brother Addy. "Drats, why did he have to come?" she grumps. "We're not letting that so-and-so play with us." I ignore her and rush to open the door. Dad is just behind me, enthusiastically welcoming back the whole family. "It's so wonderful to see you," he says, as everyone is ushered into the living room and offered seats. "How was Serena's wedding? I hope the trip home was good and everyone was well." He plays the innocent but quickly moves to ask, "But where is Abby?" Mr. and Mrs. Canby look nervously at each other. "Oh, she's in the village for a little while longer. Some family matter to take care of," Mr. Canby answers. I'm holding my breath, hoping that adults don't realise we're still in the room and stop talking about Abby. Sadly, Sophia blows it. Miffed that Pinky, who is clinging to her mum, doesn't want to play, she starts to complain and nag. I can see Dad doesn't want to take the conversation any further with us in there, so he asks if Mum and I mind fetching some tea and cake. Later, after Sophia and I have cleared up, Mum suggests us kids should all go play in our bedroom. No one moves. "Go on, show them your new game," she says more firmly. I'm desperate to stick around to hear what the Canbys have to say about Abby. Dad is sure to question them further, but Mum is staring at me furiously now, and there's no getting round her. So off we all reluctantly shuffle to her bedroom. Addy is nearly 8 and quite a tall boy. He has hair so short that he looks like he's been scalped. Pinky still doesn't want to play and is unusually quiet. She is clearly unhappy about something and sticks to me like glue. We play cards and I show them my magic tricks. But I think even Sophia notices the uncomfortable tension as she refuses to tie the baby Abe up in bandages as we had so much fun doing before. "Tell me about what happened to Abby," I eventually whispered to Pinky. She looks down again, fiddling with her playing card in her hand. Sophia pokes Addy with less patience and asks, "Where's your big sister?" "It's none of your business," Addy announces. Sophia pokes her tongue out at Addy. He gets annoyed and goes back into the living room. "So where's Abby?" I ask Pinky more forcefully. "She's not come back. She's been left out there," Pinky says, starting to sob. Sophia calmly puts her arm around Pinky's shoulders, but I'm shaken with fear and rage. "Why?" I ask, praying the answer isn't what I already know it will be. "She's getting married," explains Pinky in a very quiet voice. "It's all arranged. After Serena got married, that was it. It was Abby's turn. It was a waste of money, her coming back on a separate trip to be married in a few months, when she could just stay with Uncle Taj and be taught how to cook properly and learn the language too." I stare at Pinky in horror. Pinky carries on, but it's hard to understand between all the sobbing. I catch the last thing she says though. She's marrying our cousin Raz. She pulls a photograph of Serena's wedding out of her pocket. We had momentarily forgotten about Serena with all the worry about Abby. Sophia's eyes nearly pop out of her head. "Who's that guy?" Sophia squeals as she points at the photo. Standing next to Serena is this tall hunk of a guy, and he's very handsome. "That's her husband Jazz," says Pinky, whose tears are subsiding now. "Wow, she's landed a gorgeous guy. He's so fit." Sophia fake swoons and laughs, but she soon realises she's the only one laughing. Pinky frowns at her and points to Serena in the photo. "Stop it. She's not happy at all. It doesn't matter what she looks like. She didn't want to get married yet." Pinky cries. "She didn't have the choice because Uncle Taj decided it was the right thing to do." Which one is the guy Abby's supposed to marry?" I ask. "There," Pinky says, pointing out Abby's intended. "What?" Sophia's jaws drop. Sophia and I are speechless, but for entirely different reasons. I'm shocked that there is a real live man, not merely a boy picked out for Abby to marry. Well, I can see Sophia thinking, "Hunk alert." Raz is Serena's husband's twin brother. "So what does Abby say?" I ask, which sets Pinky off crying again. "She's dead scared," she says between the tears. "And she begged Mum and Dad not to leave her. She promised to be good if they let her come home, but my uncle said no. She promised to do all the cooking and cleaning, and she promised to look after all the kids. She promised and promised, but they wouldn't listen. She wants to come back to school, but Dad said no, that it's a waste of time." "I don't understand though. Your dad's always told us it wasn't a waste of time. The education is important, but what use is it if our dad won't listen?" Pinky tells us the twins both work in their father's garment factory and are rich, but that they don't keep servants because the women in the family are there to slave for them day and night. And now they have Serena, and soon we'll have Abby too. Apparently the brothers didn't want to get married either. They thought they could get Bollywood movie stars to marry them, but they had to do what their dad had ordered them to do. But they certainly didn't want Western girls full of ideas of freedom and choice. These young men have been spoiled, with all the women of the family attending to their every need through their lives. They just have nothing in common with Serena and Abby, Pinky says. Pinky says Jazz just barks orders that Serena and Raz will do the same to Abby, expecting them to stay at home all day and certainly all night. Wives have no freedom at all. They can only do what their husbands tell them to do. Pinky looks exhausted and beaten. From what Pinky has said, I figure it isn't the twin brothers' fault really. It's just the way they've been brought up. Though admittedly, they could have been kinder to Serena and Abby. Sophia clearly hasn't grasped what's going on because she says, "I don't get it. Why are they so unhappy? These guys are really good looking. They look like models." Abby doesn't care how he looks. Don't you get it? She's only 15. She wants to be at school and have some freedom. She doesn't want to get married. I turn to Pinky, exasperated at Sophia. "What do your parents say?" Mum keeps crying when she thinks I can't hear her. She doesn't say so, but I know she wants to bring Abby home before she marries. She wasn't ready for this, but Dad says that if she comes home now, she will shame the family. Dad's older brother, Uncle Taj, was like a father to him, so he says it would be wrong to go against him. Besides, they said Abby was already there now, and it would be too expensive to fly her back and forth. They probably had it planned all along. They were never going to bring her back, with the attention on Serena, nobody thought to be concerned for Abby, Pinky says. I'm really shocked at how grown up she is compared to Sophia. Abby said she would kill herself if they forced her to marry Raz, but Dad told her not to be so dramatic. Pinky says, crying really hard now. "Oh, Vinny, it was so awful. They didn't tell us they were leaving Abby until the day we left. I had a plan that we would hold on to each other so tight that they couldn't separate us, and Abby would come home with us. It was only on that morning that we even knew we were leaving because Mum started packing up our stuff. Though she didn't pack it all, she left most of it for our cousins out there. Then at midday, the hottest part of the day, we heard a car pull up. It was Uncle Taj, and we knew the time had come. Abby and I went and hid in the garden behind a mango tree. We could hear everyone calling for Abby, and I got really scared, especially when my dad shouted for me to come, but I held on to Abby. There I saw Addy looking down at us. Abby begged him not to tell the others that he had found us, but he just looked at us, smiled, then shouted at the top of his voice. Suddenly everyone was surrounding us, and hands were pulling and slapping us. Mum was crying too, but she was trying to pull us apart. Uncle Taj was getting angry as the car was waiting, and Dad was shouting, but we held on to each other as tightly as we could. Abby begged Abu, Dad, to let her go home with us. Then finally he said she couldn't come because he didn't have a plane ticket for her and that she must stay and get married. Then as everyone was shouting and screaming, Mum moved close to whisper in Abby's ear. I thought she was going to help her, but she spoke quietly and calmly, and then Pinky broke into sobs again. Then all of a sudden, Abby let go. She just let go. I'm stunned and can't imagine what their mother could have said to have made Abby give up like that. Abu just picked me up and dragged me into the car, hissing to me that I was bringing shame on him, but I never gave up. I was still screaming and trying to reach Abby. Vinny, that was the last time I saw Abby. I don't think I'll ever see her again in my whole life. Now I've lost 2 sisters. We'll get her back, I say, completely horrified but fighting back the tears and giving Pinky a reassuring hug. Sophia is silent but looks meaningfully at me, and I know she's trying to show me that there's no more joking around from her. She understands how bad this is. We don't want the adults to know what we've been discussing this. We all need to pull ourselves together. Pinky will be in trouble if her dads find out she told us, I say sternly to Sophia. Then the horrible Addy marches in. I feel sick at the sight of him after learning his betrayal. We're off now. Come on, get up, he orders at Pinky. She glares at him, but does what she's told. Hey, Pinky, we'll think of something. Take care, I say. See you soon. The moment the Cambys leave, we run through to Mum and Dad to blurt out everything. The Cambys refuse to tell them why Abby was staying out there for what they called a longer holiday. So they're keen to know what Pinky has said. Mum has tears in her eyes by the time I finish, and Dad is very quiet. Sophia settles herself on Mum's lap and Mum's knuckles turn white. She clasps her so hard. Dad turns to me to ask me to repeat Pinky's story, so he can be sure of the facts. He tells me he can trust me to tell the truth and to not exaggerate.